Hello and welcome to State of the Project Egem. I'm your host Cryptosi and I am joined by the man himself, Osoese. We'll not call him the main man this month as we got corrected last month and we remembered. This is the May update. This is our second in a row, our second podcast. We're going to try and do them every single month. It may be Osoese if he's available. I may get one of the other core devs or someone from another project that's being launched on Egem or anything related effectively. So, without any further to do, let me introduce him. Oh, so easy. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Yeah. Thanks for having me back on. Appreciate talking with you as always. And just looking forward to a good, exciting hour. Let me
Yeah.
turn that Discord link off. I think that might have been me.
Well, last time it's probably me actually. Last time our podcast ran over, so this time let's see if we can wrap up. I've trimmed down the questions, so there's not quite as many, so I won't be keeping you quite as long this time. um, So the first one I wanted to get started with was is a question that I kind of I think we'd spoken about it before in our very first podcast some years ago, but people may not know. Does EtherGem have master nodes? If so, how do they work and what do they do?
Yeah. Okay. So good question. And by the way, that previous episode that we recorded, I'm sure it's on your YouTube or your Twitter links, but it's also in our announcement section on the Discord, the Egem Discord. I saw it today. Master nodes, we do have a form of master nodes. They're called quarry nodes. And the reason that we have them called quarry nodes is because it's actually only halfway related to our Coinbase transaction when a block is minted. So what that means is there is a pool of Egem that goes into a fund, and the fund is distributed through the Discord chat accounts. And that's one thing that we did to keep the community involved with Egem. So it's not true, like a masternode coin where it's dependent upon your block reward is dependent upon that consensus. We are a proof of work coin, but we do have a block reward that comes in every block that does get distributed. We could eventually tie it to an algorithm. That's a minor update, not a big deal. We just chose to do it this way, and it works well for our community and for us.
Okay, so the
So,
nodes don't have any special functionality that they do or any computing that they do towards the network.
well, right now they do run some stats, and it's basically was just to make sure that we reward those who support Egem and Sapphire in the future for running a node, and so it helps distribute our network, because if we didn't do this, we may not have as many nodes up. I'm sure that some of you have looked up the price of Egem. We're a micro cap. It's hard to develop interest in a micro cap unless you reward people to run the node. So that's where this comes from.
So what is it that people need to run a node? How can like a layman who's just found out about Egem, how can someone like that run a node? What do they need?
Well, we have the easiest node system as far as like a newcomer would run into. So there's a couple services that will allow one-click setup where you just basically host, and they set it up and run everything for you. It's like one click, and they do that for. It's definitely less than $1.99 a month. I think it's $1.49 a month on two of the services. I'm gonna hesitate and not say the names of the different services right now on this call. Just come into our Discord. There's 3 of them that work regularly with us and have for some time. We also have, you could run a standard VPS, but a VPS is going to usually cost you about $5 a month because you have to have a little bit of data to host the chain data folder. So we're at getting ready to hit 8 million blocks. So the Egem chain's a little hefty, not huge, but a little hefty. We also have, like I said, maybe I didn't say, but we have the Docker image. So if you wanted to spin it up quickly using Docker, what we do uniquely on Egem is we set our Docker image so that when you start up, the chain data is inside the Docker image in the container. We load it for you so that you can sync pretty quickly. It's not going to be instant because, we do that maybe once every couple months. But your time to sync is a lot shorter than if you start from scratch, which doesn't take that long anyway. So you have three options. You have like some of the services, $1.50 a month. You can run on your own on a VPS and just follow the install instructions and run an Egem node. Like it's like Go Egem is our software. Just simply run the Docker image and it will load up for you.
How much Egem does someone have to hold to run one of these nodes? Is there a collateral that's needed?
Yeah, there's two. So Egem is a microcap. We started with a base of 10,000 Egem for the initial node. When the nodes were put in place, Egem was trading at significantly less value than it is today, although it's not really that expensive. They earn well, they're profitable. So a base node is 10,000 Egem, and right now we're running 700 nodes, maybe 750 total. And they're a combination of what we call tier 1 and tier 2 nodes. The tier 2 node, I want you to ask this question of Derek when you get him on the show, because he kind of came up with this, him and Troy came up with this whole geode concept. And what that means is you have your tier 1 node with the 10,000 Egem, that's basic. And there's a certain pool that goes for tier 1 nodes. I want to say it's probably about maybe 15% to 30% of the total allocation for node payments goes to tier 1 nodes. So you can monitor the pay stats and if you're putting up a node, should I do a T1 or should I do a T2? Okay, so then the T2 node is called a geode. And where it gets confusing to me is a geode is actually 30,000 Egem, but you really have to be running a T1 and a T2 in combo. So it's really 40,000 Egem, I think,
right,
is the answer.
Okay.
And that's a geode, and they pay a little better. And there's a bigger allocation that goes to the T2 nodes. But of course, just like anything, just like mining or running a masternode coin, it balances out. People know how much they earn.
Yeah.
People put up their nodes, but you can. A smart person could look and say, hey, there's only so many T1s running right now. The T1 payment is a little better than a T2 payment. I can kick a couple T1s up, collect those payments. And of course, they're going to start to go down, and then and just watch. And you could quickly change to a T2 or a T1 because it's as simple as holding your collateral and running a node. You could switch that node between a T1 and T2 with the commands on Discord pretty quickly.
Right. Okay. That's good stuff. Do you worry about the prices of a T1 or T2 in particular, becoming a bit unreachable? Because a lot of the masternode coins, or even coins where you have to put collateral aside, even with like Thor or any other nodes like that, Theta as well, when the price of the actual underlying asset goes up, so when the price of Egem goes up, then the price of the tier 2 node obviously will go up. Do you worry about the price of Egem going up, let's say another 5x or 10x from here, and then the nodes being unattainable for the average person, especially outside of Europe and North America?
Base coin, we've had, I don't know, 4 or 5 forks already, self fork, internal forks. So we could do anything we really want to as a community. And so if we had to change the collateral requirement, that's really not. I worked on another coin where we changed collateral, and it goes off well with the community when you do stuff like that. as long as the community is involved in that decision, right?
Yeah.
But remember, when the price goes up of Egem, worth, the value of what you're getting paid goes up, and they emit the same number of coins per day into that pool.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of the folks that run nodes now have been with us for years, and they probably got their Egem at a low cost. So that does give an advantage to our supporters. Yeah, I don't know, where we would go. I haven't sat around and done those calculations, because we also have mining, and we have halving going on every once in a while, halving, and that kind of happens too. So there's something always a little bit in flux. And
Okay. All right. I want to move on then. A new guy joined the Discord. A guy who I've known through some other projects called Strontium. He produced a write-up based on the current EtherGem marketing and branding and some of the social media aspects. And what I really wanted to ask you was, how are you feeling about the possibility of a rebrand or a brand refresh? Is there a way that you would like it to be done, and what would the process look like to you if there was to be some kind of reshaping of the EtherGem brand?
well, you know me, I'm in it just like anybody else. So I am a developer, and I'll do dev work on Egem, but I'm in there because I like the community. We're a community-based coin.
Yeah.
So, when other members of the community propose things, that's something we consider.
Yeah.
There may be some strong opinions in the beginning, especially because this is the way it's always been done before, or this is the way we're kind of used to it.
Yeah.
And a few things I feel like maybe we build a brand on the existing image a little bit.
Hmm.
But I'm not opposed to anything. And also, my voice is one voice, and we have a community voice that I have to respect and get along with as well.
Yeah.
So as for like a rebrand, it would be a community decision.
Excellent. Excellent. Great answer. Great answer. Okay. I wanted to speak about an announcement that was made in Discord, probably about a week ago now, maybe 2 weeks by the time this airs. It explained that there was a generous donor who'd gotten into Sapphire via an OTC transaction. Are you able to say who this donor is? Because I'm quite excited about it. And what is the funding situation with Sapphire? Is there a way that other people can get a piece of the action that the other generous donor got?
Well, here, let's back this up and discuss it, because I think it's important. So what we did there is somebody put some money into Sapphire, and we don't offer Sapphire. There's no public announcement or public request for funding to Sapphire, and there never has been. It's an internal development project that we've advertised from day one. This is what we're doing. This is part of Egem. It's not all of Egem. Egem is a self-sustaining, really well-equipped Ethereum clone, as is. And, it's got a faster block time. We got the quarry node set up, and we have an engaged community. And we had a different schedule on our mining rewards. Those things, they work for our community. So we wanted to do some development work and bring Egem into the next phase and extend it with this enhanced sidechain, subchain. I call it a subchain. Essentially, they're really like sister chains that work well together. But one thing I don't think people realize is Sapphire has a copy of parts of the Egem block on every Sapphire block. So that, and the original intention was, I think we talked about it last episode, about a 51% attack. That would give us a reference point. If say somebody tried to overwrite the Egem chain. Now we have Pearl Guard too, which does the same protection. So that's less relevant now than it was when we came up with that idea. But anyway, so they're related, they're linked. And then, Sapphire was a difficult project to do. We promised, Well, we didn't really promise. What we said is this is what we'd like to do. Started doing some development work. It looked easy at first. Got into it. Thought we made a lot of progress. I personally did. And thought I was going live like 2 years ago with it. Some hurdles that have taken a couple refactors and rebuilds to kind of get through those hurdles. So we've been building Sapphire forever, making really good progress. And, one of the things we didn't talk about before also last episode was things like how the miner got built for Sapphire and stuff. And I'd like to address those. I don't want to carry on before I answer your question, though. So this particular person that put some money in Sapphire knew that in the past, we had let a few people put a little OTC money into Sapphire. And what we did with that money was support the development of the coin and the node rewards when Egem wasn't profitable. The whole point of Sapphire is to make a little internal ecosystem for Egem, Sapphire, and our version of a stable coin, ETT, Egem trading token. And those things working in conjunction, we feel like that and the ability to put tokens on Egem and coins on Sapphire, because Sapphire has the capability to release a coin, would bring an ecosystem that we all participated in to market and would benefit somebody by having a single private key to be able to do all this stuff. Well, through that, some people put some money into Sapphire and we used it to propagate node rewards or pay some dev bills. We're running a handful of servers every month because to do Sapphire, you have to run a Bitcoin node. You got to run a Litecoin node. You got to run, an Ethereum node. There's a long list of things that goes into running something like Sapphire because it's multi-chain support. And anyway, this particular person, I can't reveal who they are because they asked me not to. Otherwise, I would say something. And most people are like this. And it wasn't significant, but he put some money into Sapphire. He had asked many times in the past, and we don't advertise it. We don't offer it. We don't promote it. But for somebody who's been a part of Egem that really wanted to get into it, we can put something on the Genesis block. So we thought, why not take this money coming into Sapphire and use it to support the community by providing some of the services in advance of what Sapphire is actually going to do. Because Sapphire holds a DEX, a true decentralized exchange. And one of the things that we're putting into Sapphire, I mentioned ETT. ETT is like a trading token on Egem, but it would also be on Sapphire. And then we have Egem and we have Sapphire. And when you do a trade, let's say you trade Bitcoin for Litecoin on the DEX, that's a true trade because both coins are placed onto the Sapphire chain through what we call cryptographic entanglement. It means they're on their native chains, but they can't move on that native chain. They're actually entangled on the Sapphire and controlled by the Sapphire, the Egem addresses on Sapphire. They make a trade. Somebody posts a Bitcoin, somebody posts a Litecoin. Let's just say it's 1 for 1. I know that Litecoin fans would love that right now, but anyway, you make your trade. A little percentage of each of those coins goes into the marketplace to facilitate that trade, Sapphire and Egem. So to buy Sapphire, and then Sapphire will post buys for Egem, and those coins that get bought, because we're buying Sapphire and Egem at that point, get distributed to the nodes. So you see how that kind of like market pressure builds an ecosystem that benefits the people that use the coin and support the coin. Yeah. Node holders. There are also nodes on Sapphire, just to make that clear because we didn't bring it up before.
No. Okay.
So.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. But would it be?
Yeah.
Although it's nice that you're doing that and giving that money or those coins to node holders, wouldn't it be a good idea also to have a portion of that go to funding further development directly? So could there be some sort of development fund from that those earnings which come from the DEX?
Well, I mean, we would probably consider a piece of that to go to the devs as well. I mean, a portion of it will get distributed. Most of it will get distributed to nodes. Probably a small percentage will go into continued development work. Like I said, supporting servers, especially when you consider Sapphire one Bitcoin node in the end, you want to run a suite of them. You don't just want to run one Litecoin node. You want to run a suite of them. You know, the more coins we support, the more we're going to want to run. And the way to do that is to make it beneficial for the community to run those nodes and make it part of the package. So there'll probably be some incentives there too. Basically, yeah, sure, we can make it part of the dev fund. But at this juncture, people have been waiting for Sapphire. Egem is profitable now this year, and it wasn't last year for a while. And so we felt like it's a good idea to kick back in this particular case. And what we did is we increased the node rewards for 10 days, and that doubled the node rewards. So I don't know if you monitor it, but you didn't see like a whole rush of people come in and buy nodes just to reap those 10 days of rewards. So we actually did what we wanted to achieve. We rewarded our existing holders.
Yeah. I did.
And people
did
actually
like
support them.
Yeah, I did like that. That was a genuinely nice touch, because I guess it could have been a nice windfall for the guys behind the project, but it was distributed, which is in keeping with the spirit of the project, I guess.
Yeah, and there's a small dev fee on Egem already that goes into a dev fund and takes care of some things. But it hasn't been anything that's like kind of been very profitable to date. And so things like this, we're getting by. We want to see it succeed just like everybody else. So when we do things like this, it's really like, it's how we felt like a coin should be.
No, I would agree, because at the end of the day, development costs money, and a lot of the time you get what you pay for. So having a fund for development, to me, it only makes sense, which is the reason why I had the question, because it's all well and good having a fund to fund development for a short period of time, but really you want something that's ongoing for years, so that you can survive bear markets, as Egem already has, and Sapphire. So I guess, seeing as we're talking about Sapphire, can you tell us how far along in development we are, and how close we are to launching, as that seems to be the thing that everybody is clamoring to know each time Sapphire gets brought up within the Discord. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, how dare you ask the question? Yeah, I mean, so last time we talked, I mentioned that we were getting pretty close. We have the node, what we're calling I don't know if it was, I called it this last time we talked, but Neeners came up with the name Node Delegation. I thought that was a pretty good one. Essentially, it's just how the nodes, it's kind of like the consensus model, but it's not really the consensus model for how a block is consensus, but it's how you keep your nodes all online and in sync from a logistical perspective, right? Mm-hmm. And I mentioned that I built this on my own and didn't copy what other people were doing. I probably should have copied it. I mean, it would have been this particular part would be easier if I copied it. Yeah. But I'm already down the road anyway. So it's going well. I got the node delegation. What goes on, just to give you a little insight. Developing a decentralized cryptocurrency peer-to-peer software. And you have a node, your very first node. This is Sapphire node number 1, and I can mine to him, but he's by himself. He doesn't know anybody. Nobody knows him. So now I get a second node, and they start talking, and I can mine to 1 or 2, but they have to keep in sync. Then you put a third node into that equation, it gets more complex. Mm-hmm. This was one of the things that held us up initially, and people do it different ways. I mean, I understand the Ethereum Ghost protocol and stuff. I just, in this case, what I found is more like a delegation to kind of make a management of the nodes, but they elect themselves into that position. and then they rotate people out of that position.
Okay.
When I say people, I mean nodes.
Yeah.
So you have a top-down approach, and that was the easiest way for me to keep nodes in sync.
Mm-hmm.
When I tried doing it the other way, it just didn't work for me. So if a node comes in off the street, because they're going to do that, and he connects up to our network, he will, get authenticated, and then he'll start to get data sent to him on who to contact to get the next block, report what block he's on, and that kind of stuff, right?
Yep.
And then he becomes part of that structure and eventually gets promoted into the management for a period of time, and then promoted out of the management. And you have two things going on also. You have behind that and out in the open on an IP address nodes. And we wanted to have a very fast block time as well. So all of these concepts kind of work in conjunction, and we've been able to keep a very quick block time by doing it this way. And so when we spoke a month ago, the ability to kind of like organize the very first few nodes, and but then it wasn't really rippling out to other nodes being able to join the system and stay in sync. We had some sync issues with fast sync wasn't working, or maybe I had just got it working. I can't remember. So we cleared those hurdles. They're organizing themselves well now, and we're starting to scale. So, excuse me, what does this mean? What this means is, like, all the other functions have been tested. This is like the last step other than this. And the other step is related to the cryptographic secrets that we're holding for that entanglement.
Yep.
And so I have to run a memory scan to make sure that none of the exposed information is available to somebody running a node. We've devised the test. We've run it internally a couple times. And now that we're scaling out, we'll be running it and then sharing that test. One of your questions, did you ask about if I was releasing the software or something?
Yeah, the code. That's another big part that we're looking forward to.
Most people ask that. So so like, we're going to not only just release the code, but we're also going to be releasing the code on how to make sure that you can't hack the code, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So that software scan, the memory scan, will be part of that release. It's going well. It's good. The thing about the mining, Sapphire, a year and a half ago, I was getting really excited. Thought we were launching. I'm guesstimating a year and a half ago. It's right around that time. And I started posting what it takes to hash the block. We use Blake 2S. And I would post the algorithm. I mean, just all I did was post the hash, what it looks like. And I was explaining, how many zeros, what it is you run the algorithm, and the difficulty tells you how many zeros line up for that to work with the previous block hash, and some other data. And when combined, that's what makes the new block hash. And that's how you solve your proof of work, right? You got to hammer test this thing until it lines up and that hash is correct, right? Well, one of the guys that was watching the Discord channel is Nieners, who is now one of the core devs.
Yeah.
He listened to my posts, or watched my posts, whatever you want to call it, reading them on Discord. And he made the first miner that was outside of the Egem core team. I didn't give him the directions on how to make the miner. I just told him what I was doing. And it's a custom miner. This isn't like you could just go take any Blake 2S and just make it work. You will be able to when he's done, because he's directed me on what parts I need to do to do that. He's been looking into that, and now we know. But he not only built a CPU miner, he built the first GPU miner, and started with obviously NVIDIA, and then he built an AMD miner, and that's what we've been using in testing this year. So it's been probably like the last 4 or 5 months that's really come together with the miner. Yep. I think he's had it working maybe 7.
Yeah. When you say you're testing and you're starting to scale up, In terms of nodes, when you're testing, how many nodes are you managing to get connected and stay in sync?
Well, my standard suite that I run is like 4 nodes. I myself. Then when I feel comfortable that those first 4 nodes, 1 behind that and 3 out in the open, connect up and start mining a chain, and I'll throw a miner on one. They have to organize themselves in a certain way. So I'm taking them down, starting them up, taking them down, starting them up, and seeing how they arrange themselves and start managing the network, because it takes 4 to really get started in that regard. Then I'll have the other dev team pull the code and fire up their node, and we're checking for a few things. We're checking, does it sync up?
Yeah.
Does it get the right data from the nodes, from the other peers? Does can you mine to it, and things like that, right? And do the transaction tree. So there's like 3 trees, I think I mentioned. One for transactions, obviously. One for the order book, because there's a DEX. So I got to maintain like a tree for the order book. And then there's the safes that you hide your information into the chain that's encrypted. So you got to be able to track that stuff, right? So these are kind of very similarly to how Ethereum does it. The Patricia Merkle tree concept even used the level DB, same DB. So those 3 databases, we need to make sure that they sync up on the nodes correctly, the hashes are right and stuff like that, and try a bunch of different scenarios. And less than 10 nodes right now in testing, but that's enough. Mm-hmm. And the reason it's enough is because when a new node comes on, that's the test. Do they sync right up correctly? And that's how you grow.
Yeah.
Because once he's synced up, then if the algorithm propagates outward, so that the next guy is going to get it on the same way. And we're going to start increasing now that we have these first few nodes going to a dozen nodes, 20 nodes, 30. We know how to scale up, because when we launched Egem, that's what we did as well, right? We may have run like a dozen nodes for 3 weeks internally. Yep. Then we ran a test net where we opened it up to everybody, and we ran for like almost 30 days on the test net. Then we decided, okay, let's pull the trigger, and we went live.
When you were saying about with Sapphire that you have kind of like a hierarchical structure between the nodes, and then whichever node is in charge is changed, and it's I guess chosen by the other nodes. How often does this I guess reshuffling of nodes occur? How often does this hierarchy change its shape?
Well, it's going to be constantly evolving. That's actually what I'm working on right now. The algorithm that does that was the last step of Sapphire for me. And so I want a couple things to happen here. One, I never want one sole node to be in charge. I don't want it to be clearly evident who the nodes that are kind of directing the chain are. Mm-hmm. And I want them to rotate themselves out on a regular basis, so that any node in the bunch, right now we're ignoring nodes behind that. They stay up to date. They help. They probably could direct the network at this point, but there was a point in time where the ones behind that just caused problems. So I eliminated them in that regard, just temporarily. And what they do is they stay in sync, but they don't actually direct the chain. But I could now put them back into play, and they could actually help direct the chain. So you would think like a top-down approach would be the way you would do that, but that's actually not. It's kind of, but it's not really what we did. What we did is you have your top level, a second level, and a third level, and then duplicate those, right? And then don't make the top guy the guy that you're getting all the data from. Bring it down a level, maybe bring it down 2. Okay. The top guys are helping to manage and mitigate the controversies that are going to happen on this lower level.
Right.
but these are what's actually keeping the consensus. And that's kind of what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you were speaking there, I started to think
Yeah.
about um, uh, code reviews. Started to think about code reviews and code audits in particular. I wanted to get your feelings, or your feelings or your attitude, I guess, towards code reviews. Do you think are you planning on having a review done on Sapphire, or do you feel that they're pointless effectively because the real bullseye is whether or not it can be broken in the wild. Are you planning on having a code review done of Sapphire prior to release or even shortly after?
I'm planning on going to a test net and releasing the code. And if somebody wants to code review it at that point, they can feel free. Because, as I mentioned several times, even in maybe these answers don't sit well with somebody else, but I've been in a code review the entire time I've been building Sapphire. I build on the main branch. I don't build on sub branches or it doesn't work. And the entire time we've been building a live product.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm working on Sapphire, I'm not doing like an isolated test case that I'm not treating as if it's live. I'm treating it as if it's live when I run it. And that has been tough to do because when you put up your network and things don't work, it's extremely confusing, it's frustrating, and people get pissed, just quite frankly. I feel like a code review won't be as beneficial as what somebody who's going to do that code review feels like it would be to them. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple of reasons I say that. One, last year, we had one developer kind of go a little ballistic with frustration waiting for Sapphire. This particular developer didn't help very much with any of the development on Sapphire, but was the biggest critic. And so when he had his issues, I released what I had been working on as Sapphire up to that point, and a couple other developers on other coins that are trading and are doing okay in the market took a look at the code, and the things they came back and commented on, quite frankly, made me laugh because they didn't even evaluate the part of the code that runs Sapphire. So even if I give somebody the code, you got to know what you're looking at or how that works. And an expert, when they don't see the code, you run the code, and the development team internal to Egem has access to the repo and runs the code when we do our tests. So they ask questions. They're not always easy questions. Sometimes they're tough questions. And this is a team that we run our Egem network with and launched our Egem network with. And we've gone through hacks where we've had people that are good at 51% attacks and things of this nature come at the coin. We saw them come into the Discord. Said this guy hacked this other coin, and he caused 51% attacks, and he did this much damage. That's about to happen to us, and we have mitigated those attacks by being alert and being basically good developers. I don't know how else to say that. So it's not like we don't know what we're doing. We're not sitting around dreaming up different things. When we run Sapphire right now, Sapphire operates on an Egem wallet. So I don't have to develop all my wallet cryptography because I'm using Ethereum code, right? That stuff's been done. Thank you, Vitalik and the Ethereum team. It works great. Why remake that wheel? We don't need to. So that stuff is all good. I need to make sure that I can't hack my node. Well, we know what we're kind of looking at because we deal with that already on Egem. We know what a node is supposed to be out there, transparent to the world. And it's kind of like it's meant to be hacked in a way, right? Anybody that's running their wallet wide open on a node soon figures out why you don't do that because their money is gone. I mean, you think none of us have ever lost any Egem or other coins? We all have.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know that there's a value in the code review because I'm going to have to explain to somebody how that code works for them to give me a good assessment. What I think is valuable is I made a mobile app that interfaces with the chain, and I run tests on that work or don't work, and we keep going until they work. And what those tests are is I make Bitcoin addresses, Litecoin addresses, put them on the chain. We do transfers. We know, I mean, think about it. How do you check if an Ethereum has the correct transaction tree? You evaluate the Patricia Merkle tree, and you can validate all the data. Well, we're using the same concept. So we need a code review to do that. It's already been done for how many years? When did Ethereum launch, right?
Yeah.
So there's certain things that your code review isn't going to do me any good. Yeah. It's really just a waste of my time. So that's why I say I'm not sitting around waiting for a code review. I don't need somebody else to tell me that the thing works. I've been working on it for 3 years. I know when it works or it doesn't work. But when it goes live, feel free. Go ahead. Hack it if you want to hack it, if you can. I don't think that you'll be able to. If you are able to, please share that. We'll improve it. That's why we would go to a test net.
Yeah, awesome. It's your views on those things are pretty much identical to mine. I guess I always like to say the proof is in the pudding. Once it's out there, if it stands up, it stands up. If it doesn't, then we soon know about it. And there's been so many projects that have had these code reviews and audits by these quote unquote top firms, only to then get hacked later on anyway. So yeah. Okay, I'm going to start to rush.
Not that I'm against any of that stuff, and I can see why it would be, valuable. But I developed Sapphire from scratch, so I'm not evaluating. What are they going to evaluate it against? It's really, I just need to know whether I feel good about, is this thing going to work? And I'll tell you what, my team is not the nicest team. I'm going to go back into Discord and get shot, but it's not meant as a disparaging statement. What it's meant to say is, if there's something wrong with it, they're going to tell me, and they're not nice about it.
Yeah.
Because it's not supposed to be wrong. I've been working on it for 3 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sitting here telling, some people think like, we're just saying that this thing works. That's not the case. My team is harder than the public on whether it works or not. And they will let me have it if I'm selling bullshit straight up. So when they take and download the node and run it, and I say things like, hey, look, only mine to this one node right now because I know that the chain will fork if you mine to 2 nodes. They're going to mine to 2 nodes anyway sometimes just to test me out. and it just is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, we broke your network. Sorry, and we just thought it was fun. Right.
That's it right there.
So okay,
and then we go back to the drawing board and build it again so that I don't fail that test, because it's really difficult to get a group of developers to all run a node. Everybody's contributing their time, right? Yeah. They're not in the greatest mood. When I say, hey, fire up a miner on this thing and the chain forks, how do you think?
Yeah.
No, right. But it's been this network has been awesome. I mean, like before we couldn't keep the transaction tree in sync on 2 different nodes. Now every node is in sync all the time. The transaction balances, that was the first thing, was the balance correct? Excuse me. The balance is great now, but then we had to do trades, the order trees, these safes. Like you could I need to be able to create a Bitcoin address on your node and go over to that node and pull it. That is awesome when you see it work. And then I had to give the code out to the other devs and say, hey, look, this is how you do it. And he does it and he sees it work. Well, that's a whole different concept than me saying it works, right? So that's the kind of thing we do.
Awesome. That's really
Yeah.
cool. That's really cool. I've got two
Thank
more
you.
questions. I've got two more questions. We're almost on the home straight. Um, the first one is from Crouton, who is a community member,
Famous crouton. Yeah.
and he asks, "What does EtherGem have in place to prevent transaction flooding on the network? Um, if the fees on EtherGem go up, does EtherGem become just the same as Ethereum?"
To be honest, when he first made that post, it got me thinking. I mean, we all know that yes is the answer to his question in a way,
Yeah.
because we are a copy of Ethereum with some modifications.
Mm.
We can modify things to change that if we need to. I think when you talk to Derek, you'll find that he's probably modified a few things already.
Mhm.
But right now, the value for using Egem is because it isn't Ethereum.
Yes.
We're not $1,000 a coin, $3,000 a coin, and I'm talking about in an appreciating market. And so those fees haven't affected us. And in fact, it's a joy to launch something like launch a contract on Egem. You don't have to worry about your gas fees because an Egem is not worth very much right now. But yeah, we can make some modifications and we would address it if that became a need. It so far hasn't, and it wouldn't be something that's going to happen tomorrow. It took a while for it to really affect. CryptoKitties was the first time that really happened on ETH anyway.
Yeah.
And so, look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, the fees are ridiculous. One of the things about Sapphire, and this is the other part of that answer, we can use Sapphire, which has no fees for doing a transaction. And you can use your Egem address and you can do Egems, you can do Sapphire, you can do Bitcoin, Litecoin, move that all day long on Sapphire for free. Only when you trade, deposit, or withdraw is there any kind of fee. The only fee on a deposit is actually the network fee for your coin that you're bringing into Sapphire. There's no fee on Sapphire for that. And the only withdrawal fee is the fee for that network to withdraw.
Mm-hmm.
It's free on Sapphire until you trade. And then there's a small fee for a transaction that you'd be stupid not to put that in, right, on the DEX. Especially, and I've already explained that fee is used to buy our coins and distribute them to our nodes. So it's a self-contained, positive structure, that ecosystem.
There's a I guess in Ethereum speak
Yeah.
they would call that a layer 2 solution. Would that be fair? There are some projects like Matic, now Polygon, that I wouldn't say they do the same thing. It's not even that close, but they do kind of allow you to do similar things where control Ethereum based tokens with much lower fees. Um, do you Would you agree that you could say that EtherGem already has its layer 2 solutions that Ethereum has taken so long to have be developed?
Well, it's not easy, so I can see why it could be taking a while. Yeah, I would say that Sapphire could be considered a layer 2 solution. However, it also has a mining algorithm. Blake 2S in this regard is compatible with ETH. So if you're going to mine Ethereum, which is what you're doing when you mine Egem, it's the same algorithm. And then you can compatibly mine Sapphire at the same time on the same GPU. You get slightly less Egem, but not like substantially less. And you also gain Sapphire on the same hash. So that was one of the things that went into our decision. As far as like, is it a layer 2? Yeah, it kind of is in that regard, if you want to think of it that way. And it's by design. We use the same address because, I don't know if a lot of people don't realize this, but like the mobile wallet does a lot of the things that Sapphire does in a different way. when you use our mobile wallet, you're also using an Egem private key, and we base Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ether One. Well, I think they're called Etho Protocol now, and we had a few other coins, and we will put more coins on there. But anyway, those are all based on one private key, just derived into different addresses, right? You only need one account. You can import your Egem private key, and you get a Bitcoin, a Litecoin, etc., to go with it. But that is it's still an address on the Bitcoin chain. When you use Sapphire, the same Egem private key goes in Egem address on Sapphire. And when you do send Bitcoin around, you're sending it to your Egem address, even though you deposited it to a Bitcoin address. And the reason for that is because your Egem address controls the Bitcoin address. And we talked about that last time, so I don't think we need to get too far into it this time, but happy to if you want to.
I was just thinking this may be a bold statement, but on top of that, I'm going to go into shill mode now. But on top of that, Sapphire is probably more decentralized than any layer 2 solution I can think of on Ethereum at the moment, because they all seem to have this problem whereby they're solving this by being a little bit more centralized.
Using an oracle.
But I think what we need to do, what I'll need to do is I'll need to get some real I need to do some research on the current Ethereum layer 2 solutions and see kind of how similar they are to Sapphire, and if we can even compare them for like or not. And I'll put some of those questions towards you for next month. So I'll do some research before I make such bold statements and upset Ethereum fans around the world. I'll do some research. My
We don't
final
run,
Go ahead.
on that note, though, just real quick, and I know we're running out of time.
Yeah.
We're not running any oracles. The only outside interaction we have is running other nodes. That I don't really see a way around right now. We're going to have to maintain Bitcoin, Litecoin nodes, things like that. But all the data for like monetary value of things is on the exchange.
Yeah.
And it's all internal. So there's no need for an oracle and there's no need for outside data. It is extremely decentralized in that regard.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's going to be some spectacular discussions about these things once Sapphire is released on places like Reddit, where I don't think a lot of people are going to want to accept this reality. But let's save that. My last question, as we are running out of time, is Ethereum miners. So I guess, or the way I've worded this is a bit extreme, but Ethereum miners will soon be out of a job when proof of stake eventually kicks in, and at that point they may decide to come to Egem. Have you considered making it easier for these miners to come across? Is it something that you're really excited about, this prospect of having far more miners coming to Egem? Is it already extremely simple for those Ethereum miners to start mining Egem?
Oh, it's extremely easy. I mean, you could just go to, oh man, I haven't done it in a while. What's the rental sites? Just blew right out the, wherever you would rent some hash,
Yeah.
you can run it just the same as you can on Ethereum. You would run it on ours. But like what to mine, we're on whattomine.com. And that's where what you'll see is when Egem price goes up, we typically will elevate pretty quickly up what to mine. And if we ever get in the top ranks on what to mine, we see a bunch of new miners come in. It's extremely easy to get up and running. And we do anticipate taking on some of that overflow when Ethereum goes proof of stake. Consider things like, let's say our halving got in the way of a good mining reward. we have the capability to, as a community, say, hey, well, you know what, we'll put in an Egem improvement protocol, and we'll change the mining reward or something based on community response if that's what's required. And we also we're going to stay proof of work, and we're going to be adding Sapphire as a dual mining concept into this structure. So I think there's a lot of potential for miners to come over to Egem and soon the Sapphire network.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. Okay, before I let you go, we've managed to make it in under an hour this month somehow. I did kick one of the questions off, but I'll push that forward to next month. Is there anything you wanted to discuss or let people know about before we sign off?
Well, we're getting close on Sapphire, but one of the other things is right now, DeFi and all this NFT stuff is so hot. I spend a portion of my week right now developing on those contracts. And I know there's some others that are working on bringing some of the swap contracts like Cake and, different things like that over to Egem, deploy them on Egem, work in this area as well. So one of the things that I'm doing right now, and I have a little contract I've worked up, is something I don't see being done on the other contracts, and that's the NFT itself, being able to hold balances. I know there's a few out there that do this because they use it for swapping. But like the contract itself, holding balances and doing things with those, with the NFT. And so I've been kind of into that area a little bit, and I see a lot of potential with swapping coins using the NFT concept, and I like it. And I've got a working contract right now. I've been perfecting for a little bit. That'll be coming out. And if you're a developer that wants to get involved with some coins that are growing, I would consider coming over to Egem Discord. Get involved, help us build some stuff, and it will probably be profitable for you to do that. You have Egem, you have Sapphire, and you have all the stuff that can go on top, like on as tokens and whatnot to build on. And that includes NFTs, that includes this other stuff. It's a good community.
Yeah.
Heck, we're even building miners.
Yeah.
I mean, like Blake US miners for an Ethereum-based coin. That's pretty interesting.
I wanted to ask you some more questions along those lines, but I'm going to have to put them into next month's. But that's good. Also, I wanted to say to anybody listening or watching, if they do have any questions, join the EtherGem Discord, and you can just splurt it out in the general Egem chat. If you tag myself in it, then I'll generally add it to the next time I get Osoese's attention. Or if I do get Riddles on next, I do feel like he's been ducking me for too long now, so we're gonna try and get him on sooner rather than later.
He'll do it. He may
yeah.
not want to do the video, but he'll do it. Discord.egem.io.
Yes,
That's
excellent.
what I meant to say.
Yes. Well, I always put the link in the description, so the link will be in the description down below, as it always is. So yeah, oh so easy. It's as usual. It's been an absolute joy speaking to you. Thank you so much for your transparency and your openness. Really, really excited about Sapphire. I'm mostly excited about the arguments that will ensue from these bigger projects that are like, how have you guys done it? And then I really am looking forward to that. So I've got some more questions in mind regarding Sapphire, which I'll ask you about next month. Thank you so much for your time. For everyone that's listening and watching, please like, subscribe, and most of all, share. It's important that projects like this, I always say this, but it's important that projects like this that are actually building genuinely new technology do get shared. Forking is nice. Don't get me wrong. I do love a good fork, but it's a whole nother kettle of fish when people are building new things, and it's important. So make sure you share it so other people can get to have a look at it. And yes, so easy. Once again, thanks for your time, and I shall more than likely see you next month, maybe with someone else, or maybe just the two of us again.
That'd be excellent. Thanks again for having me, and have a great evening yourself.
Yeah, thanks so much. Bye bye.
All right, take care.